Hi, I'm Dena George, and this is my final project for my technology course this summer. So for this website that I chose to use the Wix, I looked at a lot of them. I wanted something that was clean cut, easy to use, and something I could not revolve, but use throughout the years of my master's and going further than that, something I could use whenever I need to. So I try to make it adaptable and make it for myself. So I start with added a picture of myself and information about my basically what I'm doing right now in education, and a quote that I just thought stood for what I want to be as an educator. So if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. And I think, especially in this technology course, I've learned that what we've done in the past isn't working, and we have to be adaptable for the future. And I think that was seen throughout the whole course of everything that we did. So if we go into the website itself, the first item that I have was my professional statement, and I tried to have everything up here easy to use. You can see there's some drop downs. So if you click on professional statement, I have a downloadable version because it ended up being a little longer than I thought it would be, but it really stands for what I thought. And I also, at the bottom, added a video that my first principal I ever taught with showed on the very first day of my teaching, and it just relates to everything I was trying to say in my statement. So I wanted to put that there just so that people could see how they relate to each other. That's that. And next step is to click on my resume. One of my friends looked at this and she thought that it was really good. She's a teacher as well, and she liked the fact that I was able to add downloadable versions. So if I ended up using this or sending this to employers in the future, they could have access to that. I tried to keep it as simple, precise as possible, and just make it easy to read, as easy as possible. So if you just scroll down, and you can see, and this was difficult because Wix is really good, but it was kind of hard to move it from a Word document into this and make it align properly and make it look nice. So that was kind of difficult for me. Took some time, more than I thought it would, but I think in the end it looks nice. So that was interesting. Then you go to my deliverables. There's two ways to get to my coursework. You can click on the units themselves in the drop down, and it'll take you to each unit's page, or you can just click deliverables, and it gives you the option here to click on each unit. So if you click on unit 1, everything pops up. And unit 1 was about blogging, and I tried to include as much information as I could, but not too much to intimidate somebody who would not know about the course. So for the first one, I have my technology implementation, and then you have a link to my personal blog, which of course they can get right here. But if they're not thinking, oh, I should go look for it, I wanted them to have access to it. Another thing, the first time I did this, my friend was my one colleague was like, every time I click on something, it pops up in a Word document and I have to download it. And I was like, okay, you're right. So I went back in and I changed it to PDFs, where they don't have to download it, it will just pop up and they have access to my information right here. So that was a really good piece of advice from my friend and colleague, and I appreciated it. So they can do that. They can click on my personal blog, which will take them to my blogs for the course. And as you can see, they're from the most recent down to the first one that I did about myself. You could just click back, it'll take you back, or you could have gone to the drop down. And then there's a link to my team video. There's another link to the blog post, because every unit I did a link to the blog post. There's my reflective manuscript, and then there's my ISD standard evaluation. So they have access to all of that information. And I just thought most people looking at this probably aren't, I tried to put it in order of what I thought they'd find most interesting. So I thought this would probably be the option that they'd want to look at first. So I'll show you another example, which is not just the blogging. If you go to Unit 2, same kind of thing. You can click on it and pull up the document, or you can click on Online Assessment Example. And this is an example of SurveyMonkey. And it's loading. that I did. And I have seen my administrators use SurveyMonkey, but I'd never really seen it used in the classroom. And so I tried to use different questions on this survey so that I could get a feel for how the different questions worked. And my colleagues really liked it, especially this one. Like, they were, how comfortable do you feel? How often, you know, some of them are just basic checks. And then at the bottom, I really like this one, like they can move it on a slider. Like my one colleague who teaches social studies, he really liked that. And then they have an open-ended question as well. So I'd never realized that SurveyMonkey had some of these options. I really have only seen it with the multiple choice. So I like that it had the option for different ways of looking at questions. So that was really nice. And then again, I have the team video. You can go to my blog post and see where I talk about, where's that? Oh, online assessments, all of those things. Go to Unit 3. If I'm going too fast, sorry. Unit 3, again, I did digital publishing. I think that this was one of my favorites, this and one of the other units, but you click on the example, I tried to create something that I can use this year. The technology person at our school wants me to help her with some of the trainings at school this year, and I'm looking forward to that because she gets busy and I'm more than willing to help. So I created this because I thought her and I could send this out at the beginning of the year, so that we're hanging around the school in the teacher's lounge so people know that these are some of the things that are going to be happening. So I tried to use the different units, that I tried to make things that I could use this coming school year. And again, you have those different options here at the bottom. Unit 4, which was the blog talk. I was struggling with this at first. I couldn't think of what I wanted to talk about because I'm going to be teaching something brand new this year. I'm going to be teaching through a program that's online. The students are self-paced. I'm more of a facilitator and a mentor, as we've discussed in a lot of our Horizon reports. And so I was like, well, what can I make that could be useful this school year? So I created a blog talk just about the first week of school, because we've already set up our first 2 weeks of school because we have to get the students used to the program. So I did a basic discussion of what the students are going to have to do the first week. We've already decided what they're required to complete. They have to get on the dashboard, they have to complete a first week assessment, all of those things. So I did that. I decided to go through and just give the students basic information. This can also be used by teachers. So I have to show my boss this and see if they're willing to use it, but I think they might. It just depends, because there are certain implications that we have to just use the program. So it'll be interesting to see if we can use it. And again, you can see I've got all of those options again. You just click on them and it'll pull up what you need. Unit 5, this, I really like this. I'm actually have made more things in regards to digital images already for the school year. So this was the one I made again for the Connect program. The Connect program is made up of 3 components: the mentoring, the project time, and the personalized learning time. And so I felt that we could give this to parents or send this to parents and give them a basic understanding of the 3 components of a Connect program. And it just gives a basic understanding of what they are. So like mentoring, we weekly check in on the students. Project time, the students, this is where they're self-paced and they're working on their projects. Personalized learning time, this is where the students are setting their goals and deciding what they want to do. So I tried to make it useful again for this coming school year. And then Unit 6. Again, this was just I have an explanation of which search engines I used. I tried to discuss search engines that would be good for my students, as well as for me as an educator and as a master's student. There were a lot of search engines for students that I felt were kind of at a lower grade level. But I did find some that could be used for my grade level, which is 8th grade. And so you can see I went through and tried to discuss different websites that would be good to use, child-friendly. So it was interesting. I had never considered websites like search engines before because I just go and search. But I also know what is a good search engine, like what is a good, not search engine, but I can usually tell what is a good piece of evidence. And my students in 8th grade struggle with that. They're like, well, I just want to use Wikipedia. Well, these websites were really good because it gave students results that weren't just Wikipedia and weren't just images. And so I really had never thought of that before. I mean, I had, but this gave me a lot more options for that. And the last part of my website is my blog. And like I've shown you, you click on that. I could have done a blog in a different website, but I just like that Wix allowed me to have everything in one place. And that's really, I wanted it to be as simple as possible because I can get overwhelmed during the school year. I can get overwhelmed during the summer. There's so much going on in life. And I wanted it to be as simple as possible, not just for me, but for the people who are looking at it and following me. And so in my blog, I tried to include an image that really let them know what was going on. So like this is online assessment, logging. And then if I had an image through the actual component, I tried to include it. So like for digital publishing, I included my own creation. Same for the image manipulation. I tried to do that as much as I could. So if you click on one, show you what it looks like. So it gives, so the first time I did this, the typing was so tiny. One of my friends, she's an older teacher, and she goes, I can't read that. That's really tiny. So I tried to make the text bigger, which you wouldn't think about that, but it's important to consider your audience. I made the text larger. Again, I tried to include an image to make it not so boring, as my sister told me. Yeah, she's very honest. So just basically telling what I learned in each unit with an image, trying to make it more interactive, as my sister said. So this is basically my website. I really enjoyed this course and I liked creating a website. And I'm going to try to create one for this school year. I've already talked to my boss about that because our students are online all the time and they have to use the company's website, but there's also sometimes when we're in small groups and things and we need to share information, and this would be a good way for me to be able to share information with my students beyond the basic platform of the program they're going to be in. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave any comments that you have. And I'm just really happy how this turned out. At first I was very overwhelmed, but this is very simple to use and very easy to manipulate. Once I got through that resume part, which was hard, I was able to do almost everything I wanted to do. So again, thank you for listening, and leave any comments that you have. Have a good day.